In the beginning there was nothing. No earth. No sky. No sun or moon. Just a deep, quiet emptiness. But then, God spoke. With just his word, light burst into the darkness. The heavens were formed. The earth took shape. Waters were separated from the skies, and dry land appeared. Trees, flowers, and all kinds of plants began to grow. And God saw that it was good. He placed the sun to rule the day, and the moon and stars to rule the night. Then he filled the seas with fish, the skies with birds, and the land with animals of every kind, lions, elephants, goats, and even the tiniest insects. But something was still missing. So God did something truly special. From the dust of the ground, he formed a man, and breathed life into him. His name was Adam. God placed him in a beautiful garden called Eden, a paradise filled with every good thing. But God didn't stop there. He said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." So, from Adam's side, he created Eve, the first woman, not just a companion, but a partner. Together, Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden, walking and talking with God himself. They had everything they could ever need. There was only one rule: do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For the day you eat of it, you will surely die. It seemed simple. One tree. One command. But then, the serpent came. Clever and cunning, it whispered lies. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Eve listened. She looked at the tree, its fruit was beautiful, and it promised knowledge. She took a bite, and gave some to Adam, who was with her. And in that moment, everything changed. Their eyes were opened, but not in the way they expected. They felt shame. They hid from God. The perfect peace they once had was gone. When God came walking in the garden, as he often did in the cool of the day, Adam and Eve were nowhere to be found. They were hiding, not because it was a game, but because of guilt. God called out, "Adam, where are you?" Adam replied, "I heard you, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." God already knew what had happened, but he wanted them to speak the truth. "Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" he asked. Adam shifted the blame. "The woman you put here with me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it." Eve followed, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." And so, the truth came out. Sin had entered the world. The perfect harmony between God and man was broken. God spoke, and his words were filled with both justice and mercy. To the serpent, he declared a curse: it would crawl on its belly and eat dust all the days of its life. But God also gave a promise: the seed of the woman will crush your head, though you will strike his heel. This was the first whisper of hope, a future savior. To Eve, God said that childbirth would bring pain, and her relationship with her husband would now face struggle. To Adam, God said that the ground would be cursed because of him. Work would be hard. Sweat and thorns would mark his days. And eventually, he would return to the dust from which he was made. But even in their failure, God showed compassion. He made clothes from animal skins to cover their nakedness, a sign that something had to die to cover their shame. Then, with a heavy heart, God sent them out of the Garden of Eden, so they would not eat from the tree of life and live forever in their broken state. An angel with a flaming sword stood guard at the garden's entrance, keeping them from returning. The world outside Eden was different, wild, untamed, and hard. But the story was far from over. Because even though man had fallen, God had already set in motion a plan to restore what was lost. But what would life look like outside the garden? How would mankind survive, grow, and find their way back to God? Adam and Eve stepped out of Eden, not just into a new land, but into a new life, one filled with labor, struggle, and survival. There were no lush trees ready to drop fruit at their feet. No rivers flowing gently through paradise. Now, Adam had to till the soil with blistered hands. Eve would bear children with pain and tears. But still, they carried the breath of God inside them. They remembered his voice. They remembered his promise. In time, Eve gave birth to a son, Cain. And later, another, Abel. The brothers grew up different. Cain worked the land like his father, planting crops and harvesting grain. Abel, on the other hand, became a shepherd, tending to flocks of sheep and goats. One day, they both brought offerings to God. Cain offered the fruits of the soil, the work of his hands. Abel brought the firstborn of his flock, the very best he had. And God looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but not on Cain's. Cain was furious. His face darkened with jealousy. God spoke to him gently, "Why are you angry? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you don't, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." But Cain didn't listen. Instead, one day out in the field, he attacked his brother and killed him. The first murder. The first blood spilled by human hands. When God asked, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain replied, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" But God already knew. "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground," he said. As punishment, Cain was driven even further away. A restless wanderer on the earth. But still, God placed a mark on him, a sign of protection, to keep others from killing him. Even in judgment, there was still mercy. And so the human story continued. A story of brokenness and grace. Of choices and consequences. Of a God who judges sin, but never stops reaching out in love. Adam and Eve would go on to have more children, and from them, the earth would begin to fill again. But sin had left its mark on humanity. Would anyone ever be able to break free from it? Would God's promise, the one he made back in Eden, ever come true?